Finally, we're able to get our hands on a Toyota Hiace Super Grandia. You know, I've been hearing quite a lot of good things about this car. In this episode, let's unravel the mystique that surrounds the Toyota Hiace. We won't just be reviewing the Hiace from a driver's perspective, as I know that some of you will be buying this one to enjoy its captain seats. So to see how good a vehicle the Hiace Super Grandia is from a passenger's perspective, we will be experiencing its ride while we're being chauffeured around. But before that, I'd like to thank Ryan Autodeal for allowing me to take this car for a spin. And if you guys are looking to buy a high-quality used car, Ryan Autodeal is the place to be. This Toyota Hiace Super Grandia is available at their dealership, and if you want to get a good price, simply use our code AUTOTUNE MEDIA so they'll know that you watched the video. I'll leave their details in the description below. Let's get started. The Toyota Hiace Super Grandia is huge, no matter from which angle you look at it. Its size is evident. It's like a condominium on wheels due to its boxy shape. And look at that grille. This thing is massive. You'll know that the Hiace was designed to have a presence, and rightfully so, it has achieved that. We're now looking at the front of the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia. And the first thing that you'll notice when you look at this car is how massive this car is. You know, this car is about 5.3 meters long, and it is actually wider at about 25 millimeters than a Toyota Land Cruiser 300. So this car is really huge in terms of length, width, and overall body dimensions. And just look at that. I mean, this car has a great impact whenever you see it on the road. Not just because it's a massive car, but because of how it's designed. I mean, look at that grille. That grille is tall and wide. And one thing that I like about this car is that it has this chrome garnishings all over it, at the front, at the back, and even at the side. And of course, the main thing, which I think is responsible to the overall impact of this car, are these headlights. And when you look closer, there are actually two projector headlights in the Toyota Hiace, one for the low beam and one for the high beam. And complementing this chrome garnish here is also another chrome trim inside the headlight. And the two-tone color scheme in this car actually elevates how this car looks. I mean, it gives justice to the overall size and overall pedigree of the car. Look at how long this Toyota Super Grandia is. I mean, when you look at it from the side, it no longer looks like an ordinary van. It looks like a minibus to me. So as you'll notice, this car has a sliding door for its second, third, and fourth row passengers. And these sliding doors are actually present on both sides of the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia, so you can enter the car from whichever side. The Toyota Hiace Super Grandia has 17-inch wheels, and wrapped around those wheels are 235/60 R17 highway terrain tires. And all four wheels of this car have disc brakes. And now let's move to the rear of the Toyota Hiace. And once again, when you look at it from the back, the size of it, the sheer size of it becomes more apparent. And similar to the front, this swooping garnish reminds me of the shape of its front grille. And of course, similar to its front grille, it also has a chrome trim. And the rear bumper of this Grandia also has parking sensors. And I don't know if you're seeing it from this angle, but the Grandia comes with this green tint. So I think these are called privacy tints. So when you purchase one of these, you no longer have to install a tint at least on the side of it. Look at how huge the side mirror is. And you know, as huge this van is, I find it graceful rather than aggressive because when you see them cruising on the road, it's like the owners or the passengers inside the car are really having a great time with its plush ride and powerful engine. And later we'll put it to the test to see how capable this car is. Thanks to its uncompromising size and boxy shape, the Toyota Hiace is indeed spacious inside. This Super Grandia leather variant that we have can seat 8 people comfortably. And not just any seat, 8 full-size, leather-wrapped seats. But to me, the place to be is the second row captain seat. And when you open the driver door of this Toyota Hiace Super Grandia, you'll be greeted by this utilitarian yet spacious interior. This seat is already adjusted to my sitting position. And look at how spacious the second row is. Well, of course, this second row seat has been adjusted to maximize the space available here. Because as you can see, there is a track here that extends from the second row seat all the way to the third row seat. And with that, you can adjust these seats freely in order to accommodate all passengers. But since I will be riding this car later, the second row seat, I'm gonna maximize the space available. Since this isn't the top spec Hiace Grandia, you'll notice that it doesn't come with automatic seat adjustments either from here or on the second row seats because the Hiace Super Grandia comes with captain leather seats as well as automatic adjustments for the seats located at the center here and on the armrest of the second row seats. So I think that's mainly the biggest difference between this trim level and the Super Grandia Elite. And when you look closer, all seats of this car have leather seat covers. And when you look at it closely, these leather seats are actually very thick, especially the padding. And when you touch the leather here, I think there's even a foam insert in the leathers because aside from being thick, they're also very soft as well. So the second row seats also have leather seat covers, and look at how chunky these seats are, as well as the driver's seat and the front passenger seat. And actually all seats of this car are very chunky. Just look at how thick they are. So we're now sitting at the driver's seat of this Toyota Hiace Super Grandia, and in similar Toyota fashion, the dashboard is very utilitarian. Even though it's a utilitarian looking dashboard, it's actually a soft touch material. I mean, wherever you touch it, either from here, 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 even here, it's all soft touch material. Even this tiny trim here. So starting at the driver dashboard, it has these 2 gauges. The one on the left is the tachometer and the one on the right is the speedometer. There's your fuel gauge, and of course a small LCD panel here to show more information, which you can access using these switches here, like so. At the driver door panel, you have this gloss black trim. And of course, you have your window switches over here. And if you'll notice, there are only 2 switches here because you only really need 2 switches for the driver side and for the passenger side, because since this one is a van, the windows behind the driver can no longer be open. So you really need a well-conditioned air conditioning unit for this car. And I can say that it's very cold inside, considering that the air conditioning is only set at 24 degrees Celsius. On the left side of the driver, you have this square aircon vent wrapped with faux aluminum plastic trim, which is present on all aircon vents of the car. And what I like about this one is that it has a dedicated cup holder. The steering wheel is wrapped with this nice soft material. Feels like leather, but I'm not sure if it's actually leather or a faux leather material. But as I see it, it's very grippy. And when you look at its steering wheel, you have your controls over here to control that LCD panel, which I showed a while ago. Some buttons here to adjust the volume of the music inside the car. And of course, some buttons here to mainly control the cruise control. As huge as the dashboard is, look at how ironically small the center console is. This looks like an antiquated infotainment system that has no Android Auto or Apple CarPlay. And below this infotainment system, you have your controls for your air conditioning. Here's your thermostat, a fan control for your rear passengers, and the fan speed control for the front passengers are these two buttons. There is a single button for traction control, and below that, you have another storage space. So, shifting this car is actually very easy because it no longer comes with a gated automatic transmission, and instead it has this straight line for when you're shifting from park to drive. And of course, when you tilt it to the left, you have your sport mode, so you can manually shift from one gear to another, which can be very useful when you're driving uphill or downhill. There is a huge platform here that you can use to store more stuff, and when you open it, it will reveal an even bigger storage space. Look, half of my arm can go inside this storage space, and in front of that comes more storage space, maybe for the driver's bag. And of course, it still comes with a manual handbrake lever, which I like as well. You'll notice that there are two cup holders, 1 and 2 for the passenger. However, I think this one doubles as a storage for your phone, as there is an outlet here that you could use to plug your charger or maybe a dashboard. And if you plug a charger in there, you can put your phone here while it's charging. We're now seated at the second row seat of the Toyota Hiace Grandia, and for your reference, I'm 5'9", and the passenger seat is already adjusted according to my height and my driving position. And look at how much space there is for the second row passenger. I mean, there's about 1 foot of space here. And one thing that I noticed inside this Toyota Hiace is that all passengers have dedicated cup holders. So you have one cup holder over there for the passenger sitting here, one on this side for me, one on that side for the third row passenger, and another cup holder over there for the fourth row passenger. All passengers also enjoy USB chargers, one for each passenger. So you have 2 here for the third and fourth row passenger, as well as 2 USB chargers here as well for the other side. 1 here for the passenger on the right side, and 1 here as well for me. So as you can see here, the 4th row seats of the Toyota Hiace are folded, making available a luggage space here for all the passengers. But one problem that I see here is that when you have passengers at the final row, there will be no luggage space for all your passengers. And so I think the sweet spot in terms of number of passengers in this Toyota Hiace will be 6 passengers, so 2 at the front, 2 at the second row seats, and 2 at the third row seats. And since this isn't the top spec Toyota Hiace, you have to pull this latch over here as a leverage to lower down the tailgate, or if you can reach it from this side, you simply have to pull it. I mean, it feels a bit heavy because look at how huge the tailgate is. The engine of the Hiace Super Grandia is the same 1GD engine that you'll find in high-spec for tuners, Hilux, and in the Innova. And although this one shares the same 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine, it feels different because this one was tuned specifically for this car. That means potent supply of torque right from the get-go and smooth power delivery until it reaches its peak. And we're now inside the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia, and first let's talk about its engine. This car comes with a 2.8-liter turbocharged diesel engine. So the engine that's in here is similar to that of the top-of-the-line Toyota Fortuner, which also has a 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine. However, the engine of this car is slightly detuned, tuned more for low-end torque rather than top-end horsepower. And immediately you can feel that as huge as this vehicle is, it's actually very easy to drive. It picks up speed very easily, and torque is available as soon as you press the gas pedal. I presume that the driving experience or the peppiness of the engine will vary probably ever so slightly when it's loaded with 6 passengers, or probably when it's fully loaded with 11 passengers. Be that as it may, I don't think that the engine will have any difficulty pulling this car because it's very torquey. As soon as you press the gas pedal, you will feel the engine pulling the car, because in some vehicles, especially when it's a turbocharged diesel engine or even a gasoline engine, there's like a moment of build-up when you press the gas pedal up to that point where you feel the car pulling. In the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia, the sensation is very different. As I mentioned, as soon as you touch the gas pedal, the car starts pulling. And I think that says a lot about how powerful the engine is, or how befitting the 2.8-liter turbo diesel engine is. And I've driven quite a lot of Toyota branded vehicles in the past, and what I noticed about Toyota vehicles is that they have a very responsive throttle pedal, close to negligible throttle delay. And when the gas pedal of a car is very responsive, it adds to the experience, it adds to the liveliness of the vehicle. And that's what I'm feeling in this Toyota Hiace Super Grandia. It's a very huge vehicle, but driving it at this moment, the engine seems unbothered by the sheer weight and size of this car. And add to that a very responsive throttle pedal, and you get a really nice driving experience. And even though the Toyota Hiace has an engine similar to that of the top-spec Toyota Fortuner, the driving feel of the engine feels very different. And I mean it in a positive way, because the engine is well suited to this type of vehicle. And so all in all, when talking about the engine, I have zero complaints about the engine of this car. As a people carrier, this Toyota Hiace stuck with the tried and tested conventional 6-speed automatic transmission. And upon testing it, this transmission is a smooth one. Press the gas pedal to overtake and the transmission will easily downshift a gear or two. And when you drive it as if you're driving for a VIP, the transmission will happily glide through every gear as needed and in the smoothest way possible. So this car comes with a 6-speed automatic transmission. Well, the transmission isn't buttery smooth because first and foremost, this is a conventional 6-speed automatic transmission. There really is a sensation when the car shifts from one gear to another. However, it's not clunky. I won't characterize it as very smooth, but I can say that the transmission is smooth enough for you to be unbothered by it, even though you can feel it shifting from time to time. When you drive it smoothly and with care, it will give enough driving comfort for you in terms of shifting. As huge this car is, it doesn't need more gears than 6 gears, because actually that's one thing that I don't understand about modern cars, is the need to add more gears in their transmissions. Honestly, based on my experience, 6 gears is all you'll need when you're driving a car, because I think it provides the proper gear ratio that combines torque and horsepower when you're driving it in the real world. And speaking of gear ratios, I like the gearing of this car. It shifts at the right moment when you're expecting it to shift. In terms of handling, I was actually surprised with the tight turning radius of the Hiace Super Grandia. It's as tight as smaller cars such as the Toyota Race, and it's tighter than the Fortuner. And oh boy, that suspension is definitely the highlight of this car. From the driver's seat, this one feels so comfortable. The driving experience is much closer to driving an SUV than driving a massive vehicle. And from the second row captain seats, you'll feel like a VIP when sitting on it. And now let's move to its handling, suspension, and braking. And first, let's talk about its braking. So this car comes with disc brakes on all its 4 wheels, and so even though the Toyota Hiace is a massive vehicle, I don't find the braking power of it wanting. And also, one characteristic that I notice in this car is that biting point of its brake pedal sits at the right spot, at least according to my own preferences. However, it's not too high in such a way that it makes it uncomfortable for you to press on the brake pedal. And now let's move to the handling of the Toyota Hiace. It's a van, so I didn't expect it to have a very sharp handling characteristics. I think it won't be reasonable to expect a van to have a very sharp handling. And instead of expecting a sharp handling from it, I expected it to have a planted sensation when you're driving it. And actually, it didn't disappoint. I mean, it feels a bit wallowy, especially now that there are no people inside the van. But in terms of handling, the steering wheel is compliant. There's no vagueness to it. There is no dead spot in the steering wheel. In a road as wide as this one going to Nepoquad here in Angeles City, the Toyota Hiace can actually make a U-turn in one attempt, so you don't have to make a 3-point U-turn in this car. It actually has a good turning radius, and so I think that adds to the maneuverability of the Toyota Hiace, especially when you're in tight spaces such as in mall parking lots or when you're parking it in your own garage. Yeah, the handling of the Toyota Hiace isn't sharp, isn't reasonable as well to expect it to be sharp, but it's very compliant. And lastly, let's talk about the ride of the Toyota Hiace. The Toyota Hiace is a very popular one in the Philippines, and there are some people who mainly buy these cars to drive it themselves. And of course, there are people who are purchasing Toyota Hiace for it to be driven by a chauffeur while they're, relaxing at the second row or the third row seats. But even though you're buying the Toyota Hiace and you intend to drive it yourself, it's not that hard to drive. I mean, when I saw this a while ago and, just imagining myself driving it, I expected it to be a bit cumbersome to drive. But, my expectations were wrong because it's very easy to drive. Once you're seated on the driver's seat, of course, you'll still feel that you're driving a massive car, but you won't feel it in the steering wheel, on the gas pedal, in the responsiveness of the engine, on the braking, and even in the suspension. And even if you intend to use this car to drive it yourself while your family is relaxing, you'll have a great time driving this car. It's very comfortable here on the driver's seat. The leather seat covers in this car have good cushioning. Right now that I'm seated with it, I'm having a great time, and I don't have any complaints about it. I can get the right seating position for me for when I'm driving this car on a long trip, and I think I would love to have the opportunity to drive this car on a long road trip because it's really a pleasure to drive. The suspension is very comfortable. It's comparable to riding an SUV. And given that this van comes with leaf springs on its rear wheels, it's not apparent when you're on the seats enjoying the drive. From the driver's seat, I won't complain even if I'm tasked as a driver in a vehicle with a driving dynamic such as this Toyota Hiace Super Grandia. But of course, for those wondering how it feels like to be driven around in a Toyota Hiace, let's try sitting on its second row seats while we're being chauffeured inside the city. Okay, so we're now at the second row passenger seat of the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia. And so for those who are wondering how this car rides and feels when you're inside it as a passenger, here you go. As I mentioned in the interior review a while ago, the seats of this car are very chunky, and because of those chunky seats, they have good paddings in the seat covers, and it's very comfortable in here. The cushioning for your bottom and for your back is spot on. The ride comfort in here is, I won't say top-notch, but I won't complain at all because I'm not someone who's looking for a very luxurious ride. The ride is good enough, and I think the ride will improve when there are more passengers inside this car. What I really like about the second row seats of this car is that it's very spacious, and I think there's about more than 1 foot of legroom available for me. I can really stretch my legs in here. One thing that I also like about the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia, which I wasn't able to mention a while ago, is that I really like the visibility in this car. Aside from the very thin A-pillars of the car, visibility is close to perfect. You have a 180-degree view of your surroundings. And when you're seated at the second row seats, visibility is very nice as well because there is a huge gap of space between the driver seat and the front passenger seat. And so there's a huge space for you to see where you're going. And I think the perfect spot to be in this car is the second row seats. You can just relax while the chauffeur is driving the car, going to the place where you ought to be. But if you ask me personally, do I prefer to be a passenger or a driver in this car? As a person who loves driving, as comfortable my position is right now, I prefer to be driving this car. There's a difference with the comfort that you feel at the front compared to the comfort that you feel on the second row seats, because at the front you're mainly feeling the front suspension of the car. On the second row seats, it's kind of a balance between the front and rear suspensions. There's a bit of stiffness to it, but not enough to call it matagtag, not enough to make it bothersome when you're riding it. The jitters or the slight shakes or vibrations that you feel inside this car is to be expected, because after all, the roads in the Philippines aren't perfect. So whether you're buying this car as a driver or as a passenger, you'll have a great time in the Toyota Hiace. And to be honest with you, I think I'm in love with this car. I don't know if I'm gonna need all the seat spaces in here, but given the opportunity, I'll definitely buy one. So there you have it. Let's now wrap up this review. It was such a great experience to drive the Toyota Hiace Super Grandia. It felt kinda weird at the beginning because, well, it's a huge vehicle, but after a few minutes, its overwhelming size gets easily overshadowed by how easy it is to drive the car. And believe me, this one is such a pleasure to drive, and you should try one to fully understand the unique feeling inside the Super Grandia. This has been Enzo from AUTOTUNE. Till next time.